So I quickly want to start out this video by saying that I actually don't hate the Transformers franchise. In fact, I kind of love it and I want the best for it, so this video is out of care and concern. I mean, when Michael Bay says that he doesn't have the budget to write good characters, it's a little bit alarming. I swear I'm not making that up. There's actually a physical video of him saying that for the press release of Dark of the Moon. Just check it out.
The other compliment I want to pay you is this is the first of the three films where, for me, the Transformers all resonate as characters.
Yeah.
Where really, I feel like now, because I'm not a first-generation Transformers fan.
Right.
I think I was a little old for
either.
them.
You know, I wasn't a fan growing up, but I am now. But you're totally right about that. The first one, we didn't have a lot of money to spend a lot of digital effects time to make strong characters out of these things.
Hi, I'm Jacob Suggs, and let's talk a bit about Transformers today. Now, what you need to know is that I kind of love Transformers, and I kind of grew up with Transformers. I grew up watching the G1 Transformers cartoon and that really sweet movie that was just released on Blu-ray and looks incredible. And I actually watched Transformers Armada, that show that was coming on Cartoon Network kind of when I was growing up, on my video now. If you don't know what it is, just Google it. I can't explain it. It's very early 2000s. And then when it comes to the movies, I like the first one and I like the third one. I actually think those are alright. And that being said, I think that those movies also suffer from the same issues that I have with the second and fourth films, which we're going to be talking about today. See, there's a fundamental problem with Transformers, and I don't want to put all of the blame on director Michael Bay. Because do I think that Michael Bay is kind of a sellout? Yes. But at the same time, I think that he puts a lot into his movies that we kind of overlook. I mean, nobody really does explosions like Michael Bay. There's a lot of technical stuff that we don't see that leads up to those really big, awesome explosions. And there's a few good shots in the Transformers franchise that introduce certain camera angles and stuff that I personally wouldn't think of. And I like colorful movies personally, so seeing a movie that has tons of colors and explosions, visually interesting for sure. That being said, the saturation and action does give me a headache from time to time, but let's put that aside for the sake of this video. And with The Last Night coming up, I can't help but see it in the trailers, it still looks like it has this fundamental problem. So what is the fundamental problem? I mean, I've said it so much in this video already, but I haven't really discussed as to what it actually is. And basically, the most simplistic way for me to tell you this is, it's basically how I've been rating movies for my whole life. I don't care what movie I go see, but I always rate a movie based on its balance between substance and spectacle. Think of movies having to balance on a scale between action and substance. That's how I look at films. And of course, characterization and other stuff is thrown into the mix as well, but mainly it has to balance out those two aspects. But if one side of the scale is higher than the other, then we typically have a problem. But let's talk about the opposite side of the scale first, because Transformers is very much on one side, but we also need to know the other side of the scale as well. If a movie has too much substance, then the film becomes boring and uninteresting and dull, and those are the movies you fall asleep in. I mean, really, if your movie has way too much substance, then you're going to lose your audience's focus, and they're not going to be invested in the story that you're trying to tell. And these are typically the movies that focus way too much on the characters and plot and substance and meat and potatoes, and you really need that meat in the movies, but when you have too much of it, then you have a problem. And typically, when you have too much substance, you get a jumbled mess of a movie with plot points that are just left and right everywhere. But now we go onto the side that Transformers lies on, having too much spectacle. Like I said at the start of this video, Michael Bay's a very visual director and he focuses a lot on action and explosions. But action without purpose is just meaningless action, and when you don't have motivation behind the punches, it just becomes boring after a while. And that's part of the reason why I wasn't invested when the Dinobots came in at the fourth Transformers film, because it just felt pointless and meaningless and just didn't work out for me. These films just have way too much spectacle, and frankly, when you just have too much action and explosions, you lose those character moments and emotional beats that a film needs to hit. And there are good moments in the Transformers movies, especially with Shia LaBeouf's character, love him or hate him. Sam Witwicky is a good character, but he's written out of context and just to fit into action scenes that are meaningless. At certain points, that is, not throughout the entire film, but in certain points and aspects of those movies. Yeah, and frankly, I think this goes more for Mark Wahlberg's character, but I really don't care about that character anyway. And I'm not saying those characters aren't interesting. They definitely could be interesting, but the movie doesn't give you enough reasons as to why we should, care for them. Instead, we just need to see Optimus riding Grimlock and fighting and explosions. And that's cool and all, but I'd like context behind that. And another issue that I have with the Transformers series is the design. I'm not talking about the VFX, sound effects, CGI. That stuff's great, but I'm more talking about just the design of the Transformers in general. Because other than Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, it's kind of hard to spot out the Autobots from the Decepticons in a really big battle scene. It just looks like a mishmash of robotic CGI. And granted, I might be able to, spot out a Transformer like Ironhide that I really like, and my friend Jacob Hill, who's really into Transformers, might be able to name them off like left and right. But if you're not a fan of the series, and you just want to see robots fight, you need to be able to distinguish that. So my plea to Michael Bay, please focus on the script first and action second. Don't write scenes around action, write the action around the scenes. And by doing that, you're gonna have a lot more context and a lot more emotions and a lot more meaningful material behind every punch. And that one shot of Optimus Prime going to kill Bumblebee, I really hope that has context behind it because I think it looks interesting and is an interesting concept that has a lot of potential. And I don't walk into every Transformers movie wanting to hate that movie. I give every movie a fair chance. But after 4 movies, of which I like 2 just because they're kind of fun and entertainment popcorn movies, and 2 crappy movies, it just makes a guy wonder. And between you and me, I think these movies would make so much more money if they actually had a little bit of substance packed in as well. They just need to balance out on the scale, and I hope that these movies can do that in the future and totally prove me wrong. And before you're like, it's a kids thing, just focus on the kids and the families. Well, Transformers Prime and G1 and Armada captivated both me and other people and adults, so you can definitely captivate them in a feature-length film as well. Pixar has kind of been doing that for years, so yo, step up your game. So what do you think of Transformers? Do you agree with me that it needs to step up its substance game and design game, or what are your opinions? I'd love to hear them down in the comments below. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Frame by Frame, remember the name, and Autobots, let's roll out.